Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Today on the program, we're looking at, Nigeria's sugar market, and I have here with me in the studio Dr. Diron Akinle. He's a lecturer at the Department of Economics, University of Lagos, and Dr. Mande Samaila is a lecturer at National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sticking around. Well, just before we went on that quick break, I said when we come back, we're going to be looking at the challenges of sugarcane value chain. What are those challenges?
Okay. The challenges: incentives for production, technologically advanced seeds to be used in production, increase in irrigation capacity, distance to sugar mill factories. Those for me are the major incentives for now.
But in terms of research, is enough being done in that industry?
In terms of research, I'll take you back to a few months ago when my union came back from an ASU strike. I remember one of the key issues was funding and equipment for research. Much of what is done right now is, at least from my own perspective, is we're looking at the dynamics of the market. But I think we need to intensify effort on producing better seeds for production, such that per unit area, the output that is gotten is a lot greater than is presently the case.
Well, now, you already mentioned it, Dr. Samaila, that there needs to be a board. A board should be established that will link buyers and sellers, which could be a way to encourage existing cane farmers and bring in more entrants. Has there been any talk about inaugurating such or establishing such a board, or should we begin to look at it now that we want to actually reduce our dependence on imported sugar?
Yeah, that's what the suggestion, or rather part of the recommendation in a way. This is what we should be looking about, because the truth of the matter is that if such a board is not established, the farmers will not be in a group, or rather in a union, whereby their needs and demands cannot be properly harnessed in such a way that the focus will now be better protected. Such a board will now stand as a cooperative board, whereby all the interests and the views of the producers, or rather the sugarcane farmers, will now try as much as they can to articulate their various views in whatever will be, because at that level, the production, those producing and then those consuming will be properly outlined. Let me just take an example, because the issue you talked about, the research aspect that you talked about. Yes, much has not been done in that area. Why am I saying it? Because the sugar came from what my brother talked about in terms of its usage and then value there. We need to see how the manufacturing firms that are in the production of our own drinks that we do consume in this country. For example, the Nigerian Bottling Company, nothing stopped them from partnering and getting themselves involved in such a board, whereby they can now have such a farm in various areas in this country, and then in the production of sugarcane, because when the sugarcane, after it can be processed in such a way that it can now turn into starch, and this starch can further be processed in such a way that at the end of the day, they can produce citrus, and this citrus can be used in production of this fruit juice that we take in this country. So this is part of the research capability, the research in that area, that when properly harnessed and one gets himself involved properly in that area, that will now be positioned in a better position.
In terms of access to credit, do they also have as much challenge as the other sectors, as the other farmers, rather?
I mean, it's quite clear, because for you to get any loan in this country, there are hurdles that you have to pass through. So it is not easy. So what we are talking about is that the credit facility, the Central Bank of Nigeria, should have a special way of supporting, maybe even having a zero interest credit scheme for them or whatever. And then try as much as they can to have a way of supporting the sugarcane farmers and making sure that, yes, the enabling environment, the enabling atmosphere that will make them to be sustainable in whatever they are going to do in that sector needed to be guaranteed, because why we have deficiency in that sector is that there are other stumbling blocks, other limitations that is making them giving them difficulty in accessing the credit facility. So the credit facility is indeed a tool or an aid that can lead towards a better production in that area, or a better interest arousal in
So
that
could you just highlight some of those other challenges that you just talked about?
The other challenges that we have, that you say, the insufficiency of the mills we are talking about. Like we talked about having the mills in either Kwara or within Kwara or Kogi. I mean, imagine a sugar production in Numan, in Jigawa. The distance is too far. So the federal government, or rather the players in that industry, need to see the need of making it available so that they have more, with the need for us to have more mills in some of this area is very, very encouraged, so that the more mills we have, the better in having effective production in this area, so that the problems of transportation, and then of course the supply, the challenges in supply, that this can be addressed. Because if you have so many mills in various areas that where we have this production in those areas, that will indeed reduce some of the difficulties or some of the hitches or challenges that we're likely going to have at the end of the day.
Okay, we have the sugar master plan in place. It's just about 6 months old, and we should begin to see it come to life at least by 2015, like you said, Dr. Akinleye. But looking at the short term, at least, okay, not the short term, for the next 5 years, for example, are we most likely to see a drastic and dramatic turnaround in this industry?
Well, the better template, or the ideal template to look at when we're discussing this, is the cement industry. Up until years back, much of the cement that was used locally was imported. Now, with backward integration, what's happened is that the limestone quarries and all of that have been ceded over to the persons who produce cement for final use. And there's been a great increase in domestic consumption, to the point where Nigerian industries are starting to establish factories along the West African coast. Okay? And that's the template that is in use for the sugar, in the sugar master plan. Within the first few weeks of his announcement, I remember the minister of of industry, Aganga, coming on board and saying, look, they've gotten investments of multiple billions of dollars in the sugar industry. And so the answer is yes. I expect, all things being equal, that there will be a dramatic increase in the performance of the sugar industry in the next few years.
Dr. Samaila, do you share the same view?
Yes, I share the same view, because in terms of, because if you look at the prospect of the sector, it's indeed something worthy for one to pursue, or worthy for a nation to pursue in that area. And looking at the template that we talked about in that area, you discover that because of the backward integration we're now talking about, which gives rise for privatization and all this, we've seen the opportunities in those areas. The same manner and the same approach, we are likely to have a bumper support in that area and more investment in the area. And a lot of people are certainly going to, job production and job provision is going to be because of the different players or the different supports or the different facilities expected in that area. There is no doubt about it, based on the projection and the estimate, that in the next 5 years or whatever, it is indeed going to be one of the leading sector in the economy in this country. No doubt about that, based on what we said.
Oh, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program this morning. It's been an interesting conversation. To have a interesting day, because it's a public holiday.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I've been
Thank you so
speaking with Dr. Durand Akinleye, his lecturer with the Department of Economics, University of Lagos, and Dr. Mande Samaila is a lecturer at National Open University of Nigeria. And we've been taking a look at Nigeria's sugar market. We've looked at the state of the market and the consumption of the commodity, which has been steadily on the increase, as well as the fact that there isn't most farmers actually complain of lack of industrial buyers, which hopefully with the Nigerian Sugar Master Plan should change by the next couple of years. Well, that's Business Morning for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Harriet Agbenyi.